Zimbabwe cash crisis worse. Talking about Venezuela once again.
Systemic important banks. They removed the 1,000 thing on there called monetary awareness. Hey there, hope all is well. Back at you today with some more RTD news updates. So today I'm going to talk about an article I came across in regards to the middle class not being able to afford some of the basics. And it's a study that came out by ALICE, which is a United Way's project way of calculating the actual poverty level in conjunction with the federal method that's used, and the discrepancies in the numbers you'll be very surprised to see. And so as always, if you're new to RTD, I want to encourage you to click the subscribe button along with the notification tab to be informed of future updates as well as live streams. Also join me on Twitter, where I share posts throughout the day on various subject matters dealing with our monetary system as well as whatever's happening in the news that I can't get to via video. And last but not least, RTD is on Patreon, and so I'm looking to basically get out here and share more news, get out in the streets, do more stories, but yet I could use your support. So if RTD has been informative to you and helped you in your educational journey, feel free to subscribe and become a member of the community officially. Other than that, let's dive into today's articles. So today I have two articles I want to share with you, more importantly with this visual aid right here. It's an interactive graph where you hover over whatever area you might be in. You can get an idea as to what the federal poverty percentage might be for that particular county. And it gives you the FPL, federal government's way of keeping track of the poverty percentage in that area, in comparison to the ALICE, or the alternative method that is more realistic. And it's a better and more fine-tuned way of keeping track of actual cost of living after the Great Recession, and is measured from 2007 to 2010. So briefly give an idea exactly what this is all about. If you go to CNN Money, it says almost half of U.S. families can't afford basics like rent and food. So scroll down, I'll give you a little bit of what's going on here. And as always, scroll below to read for yourself. It says economy may be chugging along, but many Americans are still struggling to afford basic middle class life. It says nearly 51 million households don't earn enough to afford a monthly budget that includes housing, food, childcare, healthcare, transportation, and a cell phone, according to a study released Thursday by the United Way. It says that's 43% of households in the United States. It says the figure includes 16.1 million households living in poverty, as well as 34.7 million families that the United Way has dubbed ALICE, Asset Limited Income Constraint Employed. It says this group makes up less than what's needed to survive in the modern economy. So, give an idea exactly what that means. If you go over to UnitedWayAlice.org, it gives you a little bit of the methodology. It says here, it says the United Way Alice report uses a new set of standardized measurements to quantify the cost of a basic household budget in each county in each state. It says the methodology incorporates new measures. The rationale for these measures, the parameters, descriptions, and sources are described in detail. Scroll down a little bit more, then talks about the philosophy behind the methodology, and this gets into the FPL, which is the federal poverty level. It says since the war on poverty began in 1965, the federal poverty level, FPL, has provided a standard for determining the number and proportion of people living in poverty in the U.S. It says despite the FPL's the benefits of providing a nationally recognized income threshold for determining who is poor, its shortcomings are well documented. Scroll down a little bit more. It says while other alternative measurements have been established, none comprehensively measure the number of households who are struggling in each county in a state. The ALICE project fills that void. As it says here, there's predominantly one method of measuring poverty, and it's the federal poverty level, and it was established in 1965. As you're more than aware of being an RTD follower, you know that you really can't rely upon the government-based statistics when it comes to measuring anything nowadays, because everything, in my opinion, and I'm sure you probably would agree, is fabricated to meet the mainstream narrative that kind of keeps this thing going. So with this visual aid here, you'll actually get a chance to see the difference between the FPL and the ALICE measurement. So whatever area you might be in, so if you just scroll over onto this map, wherever you might be located at, you can get an idea what your county, what the actual FPL poverty level is as in comparison to the ALICE level. And so remember, the ALICE level is more so geared towards measurements. The ALICE measurements is more so, as it says here, it says it's an estimate of total cost of household essentials, including housing, childcare, food, transportation, technology, healthcare, plus taxes, and a 10% contingency. So that's a little bit more of a more realistic factor to consider as opposed to the FPL, which is, I'm sure, is an outdated method that which is going to fall well below the actual level of poverty in that area. So go back to this graph here. So based upon where you're at. So say, for example, if you are in, let me see here, in Jones County, Mississippi, it says the actual FPL, or the below poverty level, is 19%. A combined below poverty level and an Alice level, it's more around 43%, which means it's more than 43% roughly people that's considered below the poverty line according to Alice measurement in those categories I just mentioned a moment ago. So let's scroll over to California. Let's go to San Bernardino County. And so it says poverty, below poverty level is 16% according to the FPL. But yet, if you look at Alice, it's 59%. So it's basically saying more than half the population in that county there fall below the standards for being able to sustain themselves in a middle class fashion. So that's just California. Let's go over to New York and see what's happening over there. We have Queens County, New York. It says below the poverty level, FPL is 14%, and then the Alice level is 56%. So just give you an idea what's going on here. Then I'll thumb over to Detroit. It says in Wayne County, Michigan, it says 21% fall below the FPL, the federal poverty level, and then it's 51% below the Alice level. So you get the idea where this is going. So at the end of the day, you have two measurements, the FPL and the Alice. So Alice, of course, is more realistic in comparison to what it's like on the streets because the measurements are more fine-tuned and more modern in relation to measuring things that have impacted us the most since the Great Recession. So just want to shine a little light on this whole subject matter about how it says 40% in the U.S. can't afford middle-class basics. And so I want to encourage you to take the time, go view this visual aid here, scroll over your area and see what the numbers might be. And then also leave a comment down below, share your thoughts on this matter, as well as get this information out to your family and friends so they can become more aware on how our monetary system and our economy might be good on Wall Street, but on Main Street, a lot of people are suffering. So other than that, hope all is well. Enjoy your day. Look forward to bringing you more news. Thanks.
It's the next recession.
Recession will be.
Will be a recession.
We're going to hit a recession.
The date of the next recession.
A U.S.-only recession typically lasts 8 to 10 months, but a lot of things about this particular one have not been typical. So
a crash is coming. Now, whether it's 6 months from now, 12 months, 36 months, no one knows.
I go to bed every night, I dream of another recession. If you know what to do, if you have the right plan to set up, you can make a lot of money from this.